Just a little heads up before the episode starts, I did release my first Valley After Show recap, episodes 1 and 2. So if you missed it, go back on your feed and check it out. Meanwhile, my apologies that this episode is late. I am on serious kitty time, so we can blame my little adorable cutie Bean for messing with my sleep schedule and my whole weekend, but I'm back on track now. So my apologies for the late episode, everyone, but I hope you enjoy it. We've got lots of really juicy news this week. Enjoy. Welcome to the Bravo Papers, a safe space for all us Bravo fans who love to analyze, deconstruct, and talk about our favorite Bravo shows ad nauseum. So join me, Bravo and Botox, and we'll catch up on all the Bravo news and read way too much into our favorite shows and Bravo celebrities. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Bravo Papers, Bravo Weekly News, here with your host, Emily, also known as Bravo and Botox. And I've got some news for you, because why else would you be here? I'm catching up on life since the kitten came into my home and just changed everything. And he's so sweet and I love him. He's like purring and like coming up to cuddle with me. And then this morning he like put his nose like right up to mine. And okay, he was really cute. That's enough of my cat talk. Go to my Instagram if you want to see some pics of him. I've been kind of posting a pic or two, on my Instagram stories here and there. But yeah, love him. I'm a bit behind because of him, hence this episode being on Tuesday and even Tuesday night. Sorry. I thought I could record it earlier today and just, shit happened because it does. But we have some good stuff today. And I want to start with RHONY because I have to make a confession, an admission, which is that I kind of miss new RHONY. I think, listen, the last season was so bad. But I don't know. I think these women got under my skin. I don't know what they did. But when I saw that there was, gossip and conflict about them, I was like all excited, So here it is. And that's why we're starting with it. And it's good. It's a good story. It's entertaining. So it has like, it's got some meat to it. So let's start with that. So Aaron, whose last name I still have not figured out how to say. Is it Lychee? Okay, we're going with Lychee. Okay. Is clapping back at Brynn, who had some choice comments on her podcast. So if you didn't know, Brynn started a podcast and it's called, what was it called before? It was something annoying. Oh yeah. Please see below because she's so corporate, even though I still don't know what her job is. Oh, you know what though? She didn't even make the comments on that podcast. It was actually on a different podcast. I guess she was on Jason Tartick's podcast and she talked about her career and her 2024 income and all the allegations about being a sugar baby and all that kind of stuff. And okay, so here's a few quotes and then I'll tell you the one that Aaron had an issue with. And listen, Erin's annoying and she can be, she's got Karen energy, as Jasmine from the Valley would say. But she's not wrong in this case. Okay, so let's talk about it. So Brynn first says that the money she got paid for RHONY it's grocery money. It's my DoorDash money. I spend more on DoorDash per week than what I made for a season. I spend a lot. I spend like $2,000 to $3,000 a week on DoorDash. Okay. First of all, if you actually spend that much on DoorDash, you're a fucking idiot. I just don't know what else to say. I don't care if you are Jeff Bezos or anyone else who's a billionaire. Even they wouldn't do that, and not because they can't afford it, because it's just not a useful use of money, nor is it necessary. First of all, you're a single person. So as far as I know, you're not living with a, 5 kids and a husband and, like it's you and a dog. So even if you were just buying a meal, like I don't even think I need to do this, but even if you're just buying a meal for yourself, like 3 times a day, you wouldn't end up spending that much. Like that's insanity. Like, like I guess unless you're buying like, I don't know, like Carbone every night of the week, like do they do DoorDash? Probably not. But it's just like no one is spending $3,000 a week on DoorDash. I'm sorry. And what are you never going out? Like you're never out with friends or like going to a party or going out for dinner or like, this like New York social scene that you claim to be a part of. Like you're just at home all day. Like, do you not leave your apartment ever? Like, it's so stupid. Okay, so Reality Blurb, who published this article about it, did the math, and they say that that means she would spend $104,000 to $156,000 per year on DoorDash. So I guess they're saying that's like what the salary would be. Um, and then Bryn says it was 7 figures below barely. I barely made 7 figures, she clarified. Um, so I guess she's saying that overall in 2024 she made 7 figures. Again, I don't know why she's talking about this in so much detail. To me, all this tells me is that you're not rich, because people who are actually wealthy, there's that old saying like money, what is it? Money talks, wealth whispers. I think that's it, or money yells, well, something like that. But anyways, the point is that a person who has actual money wouldn't be discussing these things, nor would they be bragging about literally throwing money away by spending, well, not literally, but you know what I mean, throwing money away by spending $3,000 a week on DoorDash. Like if they would be embarrassed by that, if anything. But it's like Bryn has this, you know, sort of like idea in her head about what it means to be rich. And I feel like she's just doing these things, for like audience reaction, and because she thinks it's going to make people think she's like, oh my God, icon, queen, like whatever. And that people are going to be like quoting her and stuff like that. Like the first thing that I thought when I saw this, and I don't think I'm the only one, is it kind of reminds me of like the Jennifer Tilly, like Chucky pays for my snacks. Like I feel like that kind of like went viral as far as the Bravoverse goes, and people loved that, but it worked for Jennifer Tilly because Jennifer Tilly is Jennifer Tilly has Simpsons money, and we know she's won the world tour of poker, and we know, and she's an Oscar nominated actress. Like we know that Jennifer Tilly is actually rich. So when she says it, it's funny and it makes sense. And it wasn't like a pre-planned out, you know, kind of like, oh, let me do a line that the audience will like. Like it came up naturally in conversation when Kyle was talking about, getting a divorce lawyer and stuff like that. So it's just, I feel like she saw that, saw how people reacted and like thought this would be like, oh my God, I'm going to do this. And everyone's going to be like, oh my God, Bryn. But like, no one's doing that. Absolutely no one that I can find anywhere. It's also because like we still don't know what you do for a living yet. So like what are we going to think? Like it's like you're trying to like tell us and convince us that you have more than what you actually do. And it's just making you look like you have probably less than you actually do. I don't know what you have, nor do I really care, but you're making me think it's not a lot because of the way that you're sort of bragging about it. Okay, so then so when it comes to explaining what she does for work, this is what she says. I have gotten to a place in my career where the clients that I had and the brands that I worked with and the agencies that I worked at were so well known that I'm able to step back, not be in the day-to-day office. Basically, they call me for advice or to work on a deck or create a campaign idea, and they pay me very well for it. Very well. I make as much as a lawyer does per hour. Okay, but it depends on the lawyer and the type of law they're doing and the law firm and like it. Okay. Yeah. Like that, just that alone is just kind of showing, you know, like your idiocy. And it's like, do they own their law firm? Do they pay salaries? Do they like, it's just like a public defender lawyer or like a corporate lawyer, or either way, neither of those equals like a rich person necessarily. It's just okay. But it also can. It just, again, it depends. So then what else did she say? The value they're getting me is like 60 minutes of me on Adderall and just like Don Drapering the fuck out of them. Like genius shit. Like literally 60 minutes of me at my best and just like taglines, creative ideas, something for the ad campaign. It's kind of like stand-up comedy, but stand-up creative. There are just so many cringe things about that quote. I don't even know where to start. The one thing I'll say is like, did you watch Mad Men? Because a key part of it is that Don Draper was a fraud. I just want to point that out. But also it's just like, this does not sound believable. I'm sorry. Most things that are true make sense and sound true. And this just sounds dumb. Again, it sounds like a little kid, you know, or someone with like a stunted maturity who's like cosplaying what they think a successful business person is. And all it's making me think is that you watched Mad Men and you've created this like fake persona that you're like the female Don Draper or something. And it's just not good. Then where else was he? Okay, because a lot of Bryn's work was white labeled by the company she consulted for, she was not allowed to showcase it on television, leading to questions from her co-stars and fans. And then, quote, there's actually one publication, I think it was Nylon or something, that mentioned my company that I work with, and the brand director was like, we love you so much and we adore you, but we don't want to be associated with the show, or our competitor has advised with the network. I had to be hush hush about everything. And when you don't share everything in every detail and the reason why, people label you and they're like, what? How? And they create their own story of what you are. She's a sugar baby. She gets money from dudes. And I'm like, I wish. I mean, listen, that I guess has some truth to it in the sense of like when there's mystery around something, people do start to create their own stories and narratives. But here's the other thing. It's like it seems it's one thing to not say something in publications and to not say something like name a company and things like that. But it's another thing to be so extremely vague to the point that it seems like even your close friends don't know what you do. And it's also the other thing is even your vague stories about what it is you do, even those are not consistent and constantly like changing. And I think that's the thing that trips people up. And then when we have people like Sai, who you has said was the person you kind of had the most history with on the cast, sorry, and she's like, what do you do? Like it is a little suspect, right? Okay. And then what else? What I tell people, and even what I told my castmates in a very long text message, the one time in my season that I went off on everybody, that everyone keeps referencing, and Jeff Lewis references one time, which again, for being on for now 3 years, 2 seasons, 3 years, sorry, I'm reading the direct quote. It's just all over the place. I went off on people one time. Okay, congratulations. One text message, I sent a very long, okay, we get it. You sent one text message where I read them the riot act and I was like, here's what's up. Leave my name out of your mouth. You want to throw receipts on the table? Do you want me to bring up my JP Morgan Chase right now? I have W-2s. I have everything with everything trackable with every invoice I've ever spent. What do you do for a living? Okay. I'm the only one that works a full-time job. We have influencers, we have models, we have art curators, we have people that did work at J. Crew 3 years ago. Okay, are you really going to beat down on Jenna Lyons' career? Like, come on. But now they're just honorary positions. We have a real estate agent that hasn't sold a house in 7 years. Okay, so that's the dig at Aaron. So yeah, she says that they're being entrepreneurs and doing amazing stuff, but she pointed out that her life is far less glamorous. She says, quote, they're not doing a boring ass job that most of America we all do, which is 9 to 5. I sit at a desk and I make decks and I go on Zoom calls. Okay, so here's my problem, Bryn. You just finished saying that you don't do that. You just finished saying, where was it? You just said, I've gotten to a place in my career where they call me for advice or to work on a deck or create a campaign and they pay me very well for it. They'll get me for 60 minutes and then the Don Drapering and this was my issue too, because on one of the episodes during the season, she made a comment that she only works, like on season 1, that she only works 10 hours a week. And then in the reunion, she said, I work a very normal 9 to 5 job Monday to Friday. So it's like, which one is it? Like, it's either like you're a creative Don Draper genius who they call up when they need consulting creative ideas, and you work on a slide deck or whatever the fuck you're talking about, or is it a 9 to 5 job? Like, I'm not, and you sit at a desk and it's boring. Like, it's just, you can't have it every which way. And to me, when a story has these little inconsistencies and doesn't make sense, it usually means there's some fibbing happening. Anyways, so Erin responded to this on her own podcast, because everybody has a podcast now, and it is called Come Together. And on that podcast, Erin said that she thinks that basically Brynn was saying all that shit, money, spending $2,000 a week on DoorDash and claiming to be the only one working full time just to get buzz. Well, yes, obviously she is just trying to get attention, probably to maybe try to get herself another contract for next season to kind of, keep the fame train going and keep herself relevant, which, I mean, it's working. I'm here. I'm talking about it. And then Erin did clarify that she did have a $4 million real estate sale in the last year, but no, she doesn't talk about that stuff because you just don't talk about that stuff. And I guess she said that obviously she's talking about it now, but again, I can't blame her for that because she's being accused of like not having a real career and not really doing real estate anymore. And so I can understand why she's pulling out examples. I don't know what they're going to do with RHONY. My hope would be that they would I think they need to bring it back. I think there needs to be a lot of cast changes. I would like for Brynn not to come back, but I can understand why the producers of the show might keep her, because they might see her as like the villain that they need. Now, that being said, in terms of this group of women, I don't see how she's going to fit into it because I don't think anyone really likes her. Like, it doesn't seem like she has, and that is a hard place on a show like one of these shows. You have to have at least one authentic friendship or somebody that you can at least see yourself making up with or having potential to make up with. And I just don't know if she has anybody. I don't know. Although I guess at the end of the last reunion, it wasn't as cut and dry as I would think, but it seems like she's done with the show based on the way she's been talking lately, pretty like openly and freely about details of it. So I don't know. We'll see. Okay, let's talk about Real Housewives of Atlanta. So, few things. Kenya did say in her like confessionals YouTube channel thing that she was invited and then uninvited to the Real Housewives of Atlanta reunion, but she was offered a one-on-one sit down. She didn't say with who, but I'm going to assume it would be Andy. However, no pay. So she turned that down because she's not going to be doing it and not getting paid, as she said. So the other thing is that Kenya says she did actually report Britt Eadie's behavior to the producers and the showrunner the same night that the whole pistol comment was made. And she says she reported it before retaliating at her spa event, but basically she reported it and nothing was really done about it. So, yeah. So that's just kind of like a couple of the new things that that we learned from the after show. Was there anything else? And she did say that she still takes accountability for displaying Britt Eadie's pictures. She said, sharing the photo at my salon opening was a serious lapse in judgment. I deeply regret hurting the cast, including Britt Eadie. So basically, she says she still does regret that and is remorseful for it. But on the other side, she feels that there needs to be accountability from the other side, and that her, safety concerns or whatever were not taken seriously. So, yeah, anyways. Meanwhile, Portia's got things to say as well. So Portia says on her little, I don't even know what to call it. She does these like little things where she's like filming in the, looks like the backyard of her house, and she's, talking about the show. I don't know how they're all allowed to do this, but okay, they're doing it. So Portia said, I mean, I guess Dr. Heavenly has been doing that forever. It's kind of like that. Like you like film yourself and answer questions and you're talking about things. But Portia says that Britt is the quintessential housewife and that those are the ones who make it past one season. Quote, I like that Britt is honest. I feel like Britt stands in her truth. Okay, Portia. I mean, I'm not going to trust you to be able to identify who stands in their truth. Okay. To me, Portia is one of the biggest liars on Bravo. She's, I think she's gotten a lot of passes for being a liar, mostly because she's like, people are like, she's fun, she's funny. So she gets a lot of passes for that. And because, she has her like ditzy moments and people like that. But for the most part, I don't see Portia as an honest person. Like to me, I like her saying Britt is trustworthy is just useless. Like it doesn't mean anything to me. Also, the fact that she is riding so hard for Britt, saying she's a quintessential housewife. No, no, she's not. I'm sorry. That's just, I can only judge on the first few episodes, but from what I've seen, that is absolutely not true. And yeah, she does. I agree with her that Britt stands in her truth, but unfortunately, she doesn't stand in the truth. Okay. She stands in her version of events, but her version of events do not always reflect reality. Okay. In her version of events, she's shopping for a Ferrari. In reality, there is no Ferrari. Okay. That's my example. Okay. Because it's the first thing that popped in my head. All right, what else do we got? What else did Portia say? So Portia also speaks on Charles Oakley allegedly having a baby on Angela. So this is not just something that got brought up on the show. This has been going around online. And, she says, okay, well, we all want to put our best, we all want to showcase like the best side of ourselves and our families. But, when you come on reality TV, things like this get dug up and, people want to talk about the negative stuff too. And she says, but they're, she has heard this and people have been like gossiping about this. So it kind of sounds like, okay, there's like there's rumors and gossip around this. But she doesn't know anything like confirmed, basically. Okay. So basically she knows nothing more than what we know. She probably does, but she's just not going to say it all like straight out on this, Instagram live or whatever it is, right? Like if anything, it'll be saved for the show or the reunion. Now, these rumors are going around. They are certainly not new. And, there are some things that don't quite add up when it comes to Angela Oakley's kids. But you know what? I don't care because I love Angela Oakley. And I'm sure that if this is a thing, it probably will come out. And I feel bad for Angela that she had to go through that and that her husband is a cheating loser because she's awesome and she deserves better. Meanwhile, Drew is thanking Angela on social media, saying, I just want to say how much I appreciate you at Angela Oakley 34 because that's her Twitter handle. I love that she has a Twitter handle with a number in it. I just love that. Okay. I'm so grateful to have you in my corner. Thank you for being you. This emotional roller coaster is unnecessary and not needed. The constant degraded comments and disrespect is not necessary. If it was a true friendship, and I believe Drew is referring to her and Portia, we could have just had a conversation and move forward. You would address your friend if your friend made a mistake in your eyes. But when you continue to make an olive branch and try to address the situation and move forward in a better way, but you still get this high school mean girl energy. Finally, everyone gets to see the true colors of people and how they actually feel about you, and also direct energy to the wrong person when you're really mad about something else. Okay, wow. That was a long series of tweets, Drew. I get what she's saying, though. I mean, Drew is saying that she was legitimately kind of trying to put an olive branch out. Now, I also, even though I don't like how Portia handled it, not to get too much into this episode that just happened on Sunday, but it was good. I actually feel sorry for people if they're not watching Real Housewives of Atlanta. This is such a good season. If you're not watching and you're listening to this right now, please go and catch up. It is so good this season. Okay, anyways, and I'm not just saying that, it really, really is. Where was I? Oh yeah. I don't like how Portia handled it. And I think she acted like a brat. I really do. I think she acted like a little brat having a temper tantrum. But that being said, Drew, just to be fair, you did show up on the trip technically uninvited, and you kind of like in some ways like made and brought up things when they didn't need it to be brought up. So, I can't like fully go, I can't say I don't see some of Portia's side. But that being said, I'm still team Drew and Angela all the way. Okay. Um, what else do we have from Atlanta? So Portia was on Watch What Happens Live with Miss Giselle Bryan. So I am going to transition into Real Housewives of Potomac news because the two of them were on the show together. So it just makes sense. First, I will talk about what Portia says. So in regards to the whole Drew and Dennis thing, so Portia basically addressed this and she said that, she thinks that they kind of exaggerated the situation to try and provoke her. And she says, you know what, at the end of the day, I'd be okay with them dating as long as, Drew is coming over and doing Pilar's hair. And then Giselle is like, no, stop. And Portia's like, no, really, I don't care. He's allowed to have his personal life and da-da-da. And I'm kind of like, Portia's been reading social media because that's what everyone on social media has been saying. Everyone's been saying like, okay, Portia, you got married to Simon. You've had a whole other marriage and divorce. You had your daughter like looking at him as a stepfather. Why can't Dennis do this? Like, people have not been on Portia's side in this situation as fiercely as I think she believed they would be. So now I feel like she's pretending. And I think a lot of people were also being like, Portia's not over Dennis. Like, she's still jealous, that kind of thing. So I think now she's trying to play it cool. Like, she doesn't really care, but she definitely cares. Okay. She also talked about her shady comments about Shamia's music. And she said that she insists that this was not meant as shade towards Drew. I don't think anyone thinks it is shade towards Drew. I took it as shade towards Shamia. Because if you're like, because she says in the episode, Portia says, oh, the song playing on the phone, the singing sounds so good, I thought it was Drew. So isn't that kind of shade towards Shamia? Because you're saying, well, like it couldn't be Shamia because it was really good. So I thought it was Drew. Now, I guess Portia is saying that she thought that, I guess she was saying like, oh, I was like kind of paying Drew a backhanded compliment. Like usually you don't sound that good, but that doesn't really make sense. So yeah. Okay. Anyways. So meanwhile, let's talk about the Real Housewives of Potomac because Giselle was there too. And she also had things to say. She has not spoken to Karen Huger directly since her incarceration, but she has received updates and I guess they have mutual friends who have been kind of giving her some updates as well. And they have told Giselle that Karen is doing fine. Ray is adjusting, but he's doing okay. And that basically Karen, quote unquote, runs that place. Okay. I'm going to say I'm not surprised at all. Because if I was in jail, okay, let's just say, and Karen was in there, I might follow Karen a little bit. Just, oh, she's on, it's Karen, it's the Grand Dame. Like, listen, I think when you're in a vulnerable place or you're in prison or whatever, and and there's like a celebrity comes in, and maybe it's like helps you escape the reality of where you are almost. Or it's like something to distract yourself. Like I can kind of see that. Like I can see why people get like so excited when there's a celebrity in the prison with them. Like I get it. Like I really get it. So yeah, I can see that. So the other thing that Giselle confirmed, and this is according to Giselle, so it doesn't make it facts, okay? Because we know, Giselle has had history with lies, but she says that Stacy's ex-boyfriend TJ was paid. She says we have receipts. TJ did not drop the receipts because he is still trying to get paid. So I guess she's saying that if TJ drops the receipts, then he feels like then Stacy will be like, well, you dropped these receipts and embarrassed me, so now I'm not going to fucking pay you. I don't know. I mean, if they had an agreement, then she's going to have to pay him whether he makes it public or not. But I guess it depends. Like, did they have a written agreement? Did they not? I'm still on the fence about this. Like, I was really adamantly like, TJ made this up. TJ's lying. And I still think TJ's a liar. But then there's a part of me that, like, I just do have this little bit of doubt that, and then again, I don't think this makes Stacy like an evil person. Like, it doesn't even make me like her less. But I could understand how a first time housewife who's going through a divorce with like a husband who's like wealthy and powerful and all these kind of things, would maybe want to protect that from the show by bringing this kind of, but knowing that she needs a storyline, so bringing this other kind of fake storyline on. Like, I could see that. I don't think it's like so crazy. But for now, I'm believing Stacy because this is Giselle and saying, we have receipts. Well, unless I see them, they're useless. Okay. What else did she say? He's still trying to get his money. Yeah, so that was pretty shocking, I gotta say. Um, where else was I? Okay. Now, Mia, we know, has moved to Atlanta. And she, unfortunately, this is kind of an Atlanta Potomac crossover story, I guess. But basically, Mia has moved to Atlanta, and then she posted an Instagram story, and it says, "When someone asked me if I love living in Atlanta," and it's like her, Shamia, and Kelly, and some other girls who I don't know, and they're all like laughing and, you know, linking arms and or like with arms around each other's shoulders and like having a great time. And when I saw this, I was like, oh God, Lord help me. We don't need her on there. Okay. We do not on any level need Mia on Atlanta. Okay. And then Giselle made a joke on Watch What Happens Live to Portia. And she was like, oh, yeah, you guys can have her. Like, good luck with that kind of thing. Like, good, take her, And then Portia was like, oh, I love her energy. I would love to have her around. And I was like, oh, God, Portia. Of course, Portia would want her around because she probably knows that Mia and Britt are not that different. They're both fake and liars. So she probably think, oh, I'll just add Mia to my like little roster of, crazy people. Yeah, I could see that actually. Okay, what are we going to talk about next? Let's talk about the Valley. Lots of stuff going on there. I mean, we know how crazy that last episode was. We have another episode happening tonight. By the time a lot of you listen to this, you probably will have already watched it. And my Valley after show recaps are up. So I was very late with the first two episodes. I released them on Monday. But yeah, listen to those and then you'll be all ready for episode 3. Or watch episode 3 and then still listen to them because there's a lot of extra. Like the Valley after show is not fucking around. The Valley after show is not like, let me just comment on stuff that happened. Like, no, they are spilling tea, giving details, telling us stories and anecdotes and stuff that is not on the show. And it is good. Okay. Trust me. Trust me. So let's start with Brittany, who was on Tori Spelling's podcast called Misspelling. Remember I told you everybody had a podcast? I got to say that's a good name for a podcast. Anyways, so she was on that podcast and she said that basically Jax's facility that he went to said they could treat his addiction, they can treat his depression, they can treat his bipolar, but they said one thing that he has that they cannot treat is his narcissism. Yeah, not surprised about that at all. Meanwhile, On the Breaking the Rules pod clips Instagram post, Kristen Doty commented and she had some thoughts. So basically, what she says is she was responding to, I'll give you the context. Sheena was talking about the comments that Zach made off camera about Janet's mental health and miscarriage, allegedly. I spoke about those in last week's episode, news episode. If you missed that, go check it out. And basically, Kristen says, here's what Kristen said. This shit trying to make us look insensitive about Janet's mental health struggles is really pissing me off. Janet has many times joked about the 5150 hold since Sheena decided to make it public, and they might as well make public why she really went that night. I'll let them take it to another podcast from here. So the comment was on like the clip of Sheena talking about that. And then Kristen said, also at Sheena, you know you shouldn't be talking about this shit on your podcast. We have a reunion to film and things will be addressed. Okay, so a few things there. First of all, why she really went into a psychiatric hold 5150 that night, I don't know what the real reason was. Obviously, there is some reason that I don't know, maybe changes the context of what happened or the story. That seems to be what Kristen is implying. Kristen is also pissed that Sheena is spilling all this tea. And you know what? I gotta take her side. I agree. Save it for the reunion. I hate when too much stuff, like, listen, I wouldn't have a podcast if there was nothing going on social media, because what would I be talking about right now? So fine. But also, if it's like show details and arguments, yeah, it is kind of good when they save that stuff. And Sheena, you're not even on the show. Like, I get it. You're a friend of, but like, shut up. Sheena's so Sheena. She just can't help herself. Okay. So that's one thing. And then the other thing, so, she's like, I'll let them take it from there. Okay. I would like to know. Kristen had her baby shower in nicer news. It was hosted by Brittany. Jesse was there. Zach was there. Luke was there, obviously. Nia was there. And guess who else was there? Ariana and Schwartz posing in a picture together. Schwartz with his arm around Ariana. I'm not going to lie. It kind of made me happy. Like, in one way, I'm like, fuck you, Schwartz. But in another way, it is kind of nice just to see that they are so healed and far past this, especially Ariana, that like she had every right to be pissed at Schwartz. Listen, the whole continent, all of North America was pissed at Schwartz. But, I do think a lot of us have kind of like, we're over it, but we're not forgetting. Like if you're back on our TVs in a full-time role, like I'm watching you, and listen, if Katie's friends with him, then what the hell do I care? Okay. So there was that. What else was there? What else did I want to say? Oh yeah. And Sheena, again, because Sheena never stops talking about the Valley. Sheena calls out Jesse's girlfriend for telling strangers she's sleeping with the Baywatch guy. Well, here's the thing, Sheena. She probably didn't think it was going to end up, with everybody talking about it. And Sheena tries to make it sound even worse. She's like, she was talking about it at a kid's birthday. Like, when people do that, they add in like the mom kid thing to try to make it like even more morally outrageous. Should she be talking about fucking a guy from Baywatch at a kid's party? No. Were there kids there in front of her listening? I don't know. Was she inside getting some cake or going pee and all the kids were outside in the pool? Maybe. I don't know the context, Sheena. I have talked about adult things at kids' events when the kids are not around. That is possible. I'm sorry. Okay. The kids are not always right there. I went to a trampoline park for my daughter's birthday. You couldn't even hear the person next to you. Let alone, trust me, the kids on the trampoline weren't listening to anything that me and the other moms were saying. And it was not all PG-13. But I feel like Sheena's just using that because this is Sheena's way of just getting everybody on her side. And again, I'm not saying Jesse's girlfriend is not a weirdo and it is stupid of her. Like, why are you telling people that you're cheating on Jesse? Unless her and Jesse have some type of arrangement, which I'm starting to think maybe they do. Because when Michelle brought that up on the last episode, Jesse was like, okay, this conversation's over. So there was a part of me that was like, maybe they have some arrangement or something. I don't know. Okay. Anyways, so there's that. But I just, I just don't really like, I get she told this to Sheena, or Sheena's the one who heard it, but it does feel like Sheena's making it out like this really deeply involves her when it actually just really doesn't involve you. Like, you are involved as far as like you're the messenger, but that's it. But like, now you talking about it on your podcast, like you're so appalled and offended and all this kind of stuff, is a little like, okay, just get over it. Okay, what else do we have from the Valley? Oh, yes, the reunion is actually going to be filming soon due to Kristen and Nia being due in June, which, I mean, love that. Let's respect the pregnant ladies and give them they deserve a full mat leave. I would not, the poor two of them, if they had to like give birth and then like a week later, it's like, okay, I have to get all like dolled up, because that first little while after you give birth, like nobody wants to be putting on a fucking ball gown or something. Okay. So I'm glad that they're doing that. Kristen and Nia were also on Watch What Happens Live. It was so funny watching them. They're just so different, but they work as friends. But Kristen is so like, I don't give a fuck. I'm going to say whatever I want. And Nia's so like pageant trained. She's still like trying to say like the right thing and, giving these like politically correct answers. And it's almost like Kristen's like her teacher, in the sense of like, let me follow me, little duckling, to the water, and I will show you where it is and how to swim and how to drink and all this kind of stuff. Like, Kristen like nudges her in the interview. She's like, it's okay, honey. If you want to say Janet is a fucking bitch, everybody's going to love it. And Nia's like, oh, is it okay if I say that? Like, and you can tell Nia does not like Janet and wants to shit talk her so bad. And you can tell behind closed doors, Nia's like, fuck that bitch. But, in the interview, that's just not like how she is. Right. But she does very strongly imply and basically say that she's not cool with Janet. Okay. We don't know what happens exactly yet, but it is going to play out as the season goes on, according to Kristen. Kristen says Janet is a fan and watched a lot of VPR. That's Kristen's response to Janet calling her crazy Kristen again. Kristen says she is actually friends with Jesse. So she says they hang out. Him and Luke are very close. They go to each other's houses, like the whole shebang. So she says it is not like an alliance just for the show. Okay. Nia says she has met Jesse's girlfriend, the Baywatch girl. I don't know, whatever we're going to call her. I don't know her name. I'm sorry. I should probably look that up. I think I do know it because I remember when he posted with her on social media, but I just can't remember. Anyways, he met Jesse's girlfriend and says she was nice. And Nia says, I understand not everybody has had the same experience. She says, but I met her and I thought she was sweet and I don't have any problems with her. And no, she did not send me a cease and desist. And Kristen says, me neither. It seems like it was just like Michelle. And I think just Michelle. Maybe was it Janet too? I think it was just Michelle. But yeah, so they just wanted to clarify that. Meanwhile, Jax, the abuser, is, doing his like In the Mind of a Man, or what, In the Mind of Jax Taylor, or whatever the fuck it's called, podcast. And he's had some dates, and I guess he had a date for his tour. He had 2025 tour dates, even though the podcast like just started. But he had a date in Texas and they actually canceled. So some fans contacted the venue and told them about, what Jax has been accused of and what's going on with him. And they said, no, we do not support that. And we do not support that type of behavior. And his show got canceled. So consequences to actions. We love that, especially when it comes to Jax Taylor. Okay, let's talk about Vanderpump Rules. We have a little bit of news in regards to that. So Kristen Doty, again, I know this is Vanderpump Rules related though. She talks about LVP. So on a podcast interview, she said, they asked her about like, it seems like you were on Vanderpump Rules, always held to a different standard than all of the guys. And Kristen said, well, it wasn't so much the show, it was an LVP thing, which, yeah, we've been knowing that for a while, I think. Meanwhile, wait, was there something else from Kristen? I feel like I had another Kristen quote. No, that's it from Kristen. Unfortunately, now we have to move to Tom Sandoval. So Tom Sandoval was on a podcast called Death, Taxes, and Bananas. I enjoy that name. And on the podcast, he talked about a few different things. But one thing that he said that's been making its rounds on social media and a lot of people have been talking about is that Sheena and Lala will not acknowledge being friends with him publicly. So he says that in interviews, they'll say, like, I haven't talked to him in a long time. It's been like months, like maybe like one text. But then he said that in reality, they'll be like texting all the time and in like semi-regular communication. So he feels like they will still not publicly, claim his friendship, which is interesting, especially. Do I expect that from Sheena? Yes. Do I expect it from Lala? I guess yes, but also it is very hypocritical because Lala has kind of like painted her whole persona as like, I don't give a fuck what any of you think, and boom, boom, right? So okay, Lala, clearly you do. Meanwhile, Sandoval said that Jax loves to bring up stuff from prior to filming just to have something to talk about. And so that, he would kind of like save. So he's talking about Vanderpump Rules, obviously. And he says he would save things that happened before filming so that he could bring them up on camera. And, just so that everybody would be talking about that and maybe not be talking about what Jax didn't want them to talk about. He also says that they would go out and Jax would literally like push Schwartz on girls, like try to get him to cheat on Katie. Literally none of this is surprising. I also think Sandoval, maybe not like literally pushing girls on Schwartz, but I do think that Sandoval also probably brought things up on camera and saved things. And I do think that Sandoval deflected his own shit by talking about other people's shit. But I think they all kind of did that. So, I don't know really what his point is here. He also says that overall he feels used by his castmates. He's been singing this tune for a while, but I think now that some time has passed, there is one thing I will say is that, he's got, oh, I hate saying this. He's got one point. Here's the point that I'll give him. When it comes to Sheena and Lala specifically, they did like, they used him in the sense of like analyzing him and talking about it on their podcasts and making money off of it and all that kind of stuff. And then now, when they have actually decided to forgive him and be friends with him again, they won't own that publicly. So he is saying that he feels like, you used me in like my worst public moment. And then now that it's sort of like not over, but like, the heat of it is over, the peak of it is over. Like, it's like, you still won't acknowledge me, even though, we are actually friends and we do actually talk. So it kind of relates to that other point where he was talking about how much he speaks with them. All that being said, I still feel sorry for Sandoval 0%. So there's that. He also talks about the Vanderpump Rules reboot. He says the new cast is like super thirsty. A lot of them like literally moved to LA specifically to work at SUR when the show was still on because they were just hoping they would be like in the background or that they could become friends with somebody on the cast or they could fuck somebody on the cast or hook up with somebody and then maybe it would get them a role on Vanderpump Rules. So he says that it's just not going to be the same. The new cast is super thirsty. And he also says that they should have renamed the show, which, it's not the worst idea to rename it like something kind of like similar, similar enough that people know it's like the next generation, but like different enough that it's not the exact same. Because when it's the same name, it's hard for people to like separate that this is like a new thing and maybe not to judge it up to the standards of the old one. But listen, there's no way they're ever going to escape that. They're going to get judged to the standards of the old one. And, it's a lose-lose because you're just never going to live up to that. All right, let's talk about Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. So if you remember, last week I talked about how Sutton was like, well, Garcelle unfollowed me, but she didn't unfollow my businesses. So, maybe it's not so bad. Well, guess what? she has unfollowed them. So Garcelle Beauvais has unfollowed Sutton Brands and Sutton Concept. And she pretty much did that right after that interview clip came out with Sutton talking about how, they're taking some time and she understands Garcelle needs some time, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, I don't think Garcelle's too happy and she is not playing around, clearly. Somebody posted on, it was in the comment section on Instagram, but they basically said, Garcelle's uplifted you in your relationship with your mom. And instead of taking this opportunity to uplift her back, when she's down, you decided to choose to encourage and connect with Erica, the woman that put you down so badly all season. Wow. And then Sutton responded, no, I said it was the biggest surprise. Truly surprised that we weren't at our throats for once. I mean, I can see what she's saying because they didn't ask like what the best thing was. They asked what the most surprising thing was. But I still think it was a missed opportunity. I still think when your friend is sitting next to you and they've been on the verge of tears slash, anger and or frustration, whatever you want to call it, the whole reunion, you should say something, like you should choose to uplift them. And I think, Sutton said, she said a couple seasons ago, I'm an empath. Where was the empath skills, Sutton? Because they were not there in that moment. And then Garcelle, in response to another commenter who was saying that, Sutton just was willing to throw Garcelle away basically because she wants like Kyle's friendship and she wants to be on Kyle's side, Sutton responded simply, untrue. Okay, just because you say that doesn't make it untrue. Meanwhile, where was I? Sutton has also revealed in another interview that her and Dorit have not spoken since the reunion. I mean, not shocking, right? She said that the good time she had with Erica were her biggest surprise, stands by that. She says she hasn't seen Kyle since the reunion. Of course you haven't, because Kyle doesn't give a fuck about you. Kyle will use you when she desperately needs people on her team. And I do think one of the reasons that she was willing to like forgive and make up with you for the first half of the season was because she had Dorit going against her and Bose was clearly on Dorit's side and Kyle knew she needed more than Erica. And she knew that Garcelle is not the type to do the like harsh sides thing. So she was like, okay, I'll take whoever I can get. Like, sorry, Sutton. You're never going to be in Kyle's little clique the way that you want. It's just not going to happen. Meanwhile, Dorit and PK officially are getting divorced. So Dorit files for divorce, and this was on April 25th, and the story came out that day. Listen, is it a little suspicious? Yes, because the season is over. They're getting ready to start filming again. They're doing contract negotiations. We've been hearing things. There's been rumors that Erica's been demoted to a friend of, by the way, in case you haven't heard that. Again, it's a rumor. It's not confirmed as of yet, but am I surprised that Dorit is choosing to drop this news between seasons to try and guarantee herself a spot? No, I'm not. And do I think that that's the reason? Absolutely. I think did she maybe know she was going to be filing for divorce while, the season was still airing? Yeah, maybe. Very possibly. Could she have not announced it? I mean, I guess like the paperwork's filed, so it's filed, but like this was done purposefully. I'm sorry, it just was. Because literally the same day we get paparazzi pics of PK making out with some woman. So PK was seen, quote unquote paparazzi pics making out with another blonde reality star. All right, who is it? Let's look this up. Okay, her name is Shayna Wall. Is it Shayna or Shanna? I think it's Shayna. So she is, what do we know? Okay, 5 things to know about her. She competed on The Amazing Race. She's a certified sommelier. Oh, well, that'll be good for PK's sobriety. She dated Ryan Seacrest. She worked as a model / actress. She had appearances on Entourage, Las Vegas, Shark, Nip Tuck, and Married with Children. Her father is the late Robert Wall, who died in 2022. He was a well-known martial artist and actor. Okay. She is way too good looking for PK, so there's that. But who knows? Maybe her personality sucks. Listen, I just don't get. She's 50 years old. So, I appreciate that he's, not trying to date like a 20-year-old, but I don't think he has enough money for that. I'm shook that PK could land another beautiful woman. I just I am shooketh, okay? Listen, maybe she doesn't realize he has no money. Hopefully she'll figure it out sooner than later. It took Dorit way too long. Meanwhile, Dorit is not reconciling with PK. She is asking for sole legal and physical custody of their two children, Jagger and Phoenix. Wow, Jagger's 11? Damn. And Phoenix is 9. Holy shit. Okay. In the divorce docs, she requests spousal support from PK. Like, does he have anything to support you with? I mean, maybe he has money hidden away. I don't know. He seems like that type, Um, and they're just over the 10-year mark. Okay. So, remember how there was that whole thing on the show about like the 10-year rule. So it seems like Dorit and them were talking about this on the show, and they were kind of implying that it has some, impact on spousal support or something like that. I'm not an expert on this, so I did look it up. And I just want to read, there was a discussion about this on Reddit, and people who know more than me posted things. Okay, so 10 years is an important milestone. It means the marriage is considered a long-term marriage, which can impact spousal support, but won't necessarily, but can. It also has an impact on collecting on a spouse's social security later in life. Moms don't automatically get the house or get the kids or not get alimony. It depends. Dorit might make more money than PK, and she might have to pay spousal support. That's the other thing I was thinking. Like, there's a part of me that's like, she's been on this show for a while. Like, she might legitimately be making more money. It seems like Dorit would be smart to hire a forensic accountant. As many are saying, PK is he's shady as fuck. Like, I just don't see him as somebody who is trustworthy. And I bet you he has money hiding. Okay. So, yeah. So, as many people say, I'm just scrolling through here, many people say, 10 years is a milestone that changes the divorce proceedings and is a main factor for alimony. However, it is a myth that it is the only factor or that it is an automatic guarantee. Yes. And that is kind of what I would have thought in terms of like, you're not like guaranteed just because you make it to that mark that you're getting something. Okay. Or that you're getting like some certain amount or that you're definitely getting something even after forensic accountants and all this, like, do their thing. So, yeah. So that's what's kind of going on with Dorit and PK. Then Dorit took to social media and he, posted what's it called? A quote that is sort of like a fuck you to Dorit without directly saying it. But obviously, like, I just feel like these two I feel like they're getting divorced and they were always going to get divorced, but they know what they're doing. And the two of them are still scamming all of us. I really think that. I really think that they're in this together, even though they're getting divorced. So he wrote, "No one plays the victim better than the one who caused the damage." Okay, PK. Meanwhile, Dorit hires powerhouse attorney Laura Wasser amid PK Kemsley divorce. So apparently this is a lawyer who costs about $1,000 an hour. So I guess this is the type of lawyer that Brynn would like to compare herself to. But she has this top-notch lawyer. Oh, and she's hired a forensic accountant. Okay, we're getting somewhere now. And this is just hours after her estranged husband was caught kissing another woman. I mean, listen, he's not caught. Like, I get it. He's caught maybe by a paparazzi, even though he's not, because I know he called them. But it's like, you're getting divorced, so whatever, right? Anyways, she is asking the court to grant her sole legal and physical custody. I said all that. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So she has hired this powerhouse attorney, and then the two of them were seen at their son's baseball game. but they appeared to ignore each other the entire time. I mean, they're sitting with like the length of, how would I describe it? Like two baseball bats lying down, you know, stacked, lying down. Does that make sense? Like, that's how far they're sitting from each other. They're on different levels of the stands. They're both wearing all black and sunglasses to a kids' baseball game on a nice day where everyone else is wearing like normal spring type clothes, and not looking at each other. They really wish they were more important than they are. I mean, that being said, there is a picture of them. But again, do I think this was called and planned? Yes. Because we get a divorce announcement, we get PK making out with some new woman, and then we get this photo all in one day. And then we also get the story of Dorit's, the lawyer Dorit hired, like literally less than 24 hours after all those other stories came out. So they're not even good at doing this. They drive me crazy, these two. Okay. Meanwhile, Erica made some shady comments about how she's, doesn't give a shit that Garcelle unfollowed her and everyone else. And Erica says she is devastated, sarcastically. And she says, I'm about as heartbroken as she was when I unfollowed her back. Oh, damn. Okay. Well, no one cares, Erica. I think that's it for Beverly Hills. All right. Do we have anything else? We have some Summer House news, actually. So as we know, Paige was on Watch What Happens Live recently, and this is kind of her first like Bravo adjacent interview, first time sitting down with Andy Cohen to tell her side of things. I would argue that she didn't really tell us much. A lot of people are like, she killed this interview, da-da-da. She didn't do badly in the interview. But she didn't really tell us anything. Like, she gave a lot of like kind of joking answers, and she didn't really directly answer a lot of questions. And again, I guess that is handling it well because, you kind of leave, less is more. I think a lot of people in PR would say that. Like, you say less, you leave it kind of more like open for interpretation sort of thing. It's a little like mysterious. She gives a little bit, but again, I have to be honest, like when I saw that she was going to be on, I was like, oh, not because it was Paige, but because I just was like, I'm so over talking about this breakup. Like, it is just too much. It's like months over more than one show and reunion, multiple Watch What Happens lives between like other cast members and then Craig and Paige. And it's just like, I'm just done with it. I'm just so done with it. Okay. But here's what she said. So, and again, it's not because, again, if Craig had come on at this point, I would also be like, have the exact same reaction. It was just kind of like, he did it earlier when I wasn't as sick of it as I am now. He also, when he did it, we hadn't also watched like half of a season of Summer House, talking about it after watching a whole season of Southern Charm and the reunion and Paige on her podcast and Craig in his interviews. And it's so much. Okay, so in response to Miss Pat saying that Paige was mean, Paige says, well, I believe that Miss Patricia said that she's a self-proclaimed bitch, and I think she nailed that. So there you go. Some shade back at Miss Patricia. And good shade too. I liked that. She said she's disappointed with the whole Madison situation. I think she handles the Madison thing very politically, because basically she says she doesn't say anything like outwardly mean or anything like that at Madison. She says like, I always liked her, like kind of all the right things. And then she also says that basically she heard from someone that Madison was talking shit about her and that it was clear that Madison had made a choice in terms of whose team she was on. So she did see the text from Madison when Madison reached out, but that's why she chose not to respond. Now, again, two different sides to the story. The truth might be somewhere in the middle. Madison might say like, I don't know who told you I'm talking shit. Madison could also say, just because I'm supporting my friend Craig doesn't mean, and just because I'm like lending a listening ear and being empathetic doesn't mean I'm shit talking you, but again, it could also mean that you are shit talking her. So to me, this is kind of this sort of a non-story because I just don't think we're ever going to know the full truth. She says, when Andy asked her about the whole getting married at BravoCon thing, Paige says, "Do I look like someone who would get married at BravoCon?" So again, like, this is what I mean. There's a lot of like kind of sarcastic answers. Now, here's the thing. No, you do not look like somebody who would get married at BravoCon. I I I can't think of very many people who would, because you know these Bravo celebrities, they're all going to save it for the show. But people are making reference to this like red carpet interview that Paige did at an old BravoCon, where she's talking about like how she wanted to get married like right when they got to Vegas, and she would marry Craig right now, and da da da. And again, like, she's probably like joking around and using a lot of hyperbole and stuff like that. I watched the interview. But that being said, that was also like when she liked him. So a lot of girls, like, when you really are into someone, or guys, you're like, oh my God, I'd marry them, I'd have their babies. And then when you're not into them anymore, you're like, ew. So, even if she did say that to Craig, like, during the breakup time, I feel, yeah, if it was during the time of breakup, like, I feel like that had to have been a joke. Like, there's no other logical explanation for it. She confirms that she did in fact break up with Craig, so it was not mutual. But she also says that the only reason he told everyone it wasn't mutual was because he wanted to be the victim. Which, yeah, that's fair. I could see that. But I also can understand that when you get dumped, you do want to be the victim. I just, I do get that when you get dumped and your heart's broken, you're sad, but you're also kind of pissed off at the person, and you sort of are like, fuck, that person broke my heart, fuck that person. And you do kind of want like some sympathy from people. I do think that's kind of a human thing. Now, that being said, this is not a regular like friend group breakup where you're just talking to like your family and friends. This is a public thing. So that does make it different in terms of how Craig portrayed himself. The other thing is, she gets asked about the breadwinner comment. And then she says, everybody is so like up in arms about this comment. And Andy's like, well, not really. They just want to know, like, is it true? Like, are you the breadwinner? They don't. What frustrated me about this question is I wish Andy would have clarified what she meant by that. Like, do you just mean like you make more money than him? Because that's what it sounded like. Because then she said, well, yeah, I work more, so why wouldn't I make more? Which again, then I just get so mad when people are not like articulate with these things, because it's sort of, which we all do that sometimes, but it's like somebody could work more than someone and make less than them. Somebody could work at McDonald's and they could work 90 hours a week and make the hourly wage. Somebody else who has some, maybe like high level corporate job, or who has the type of job where they don't have to work as many hours, but they bring in more money, could work, maybe like 40 hours and be making like $200,000 a year. Like, the amount that you work doesn't necessarily equal income. Now, in the case of Craig and Paige, it probably does, because they have kind of similar, fields, landscapes that they're in, which is like the entertainment, influencing, all that kind of stuff, like owning their businesses, whatever. So I guess maybe it could in this case. But again, I think what it really boils down to is what she wants to say. And I think what she is saying without like literally saying it is like, I make more money than him. So why am I going to move to Charleston and uproot my entire life when I make more money than him? And I want to have like a certain type of lifestyle. I don't want that type of lifestyle, right? But again, it's just poor use of the term breadwinner, because technically a breadwinner is like someone who supports their family and, brings home most of the income for the family and that they're living off of. And her and Craig weren't married. They're both like independently wealthy and financially well off. Like, they don't need each other, to survive and to live. They never even like live together. They don't even live in the same state. So I think it's just not the best word choice. And I do think there would be a lot less debate about it online if she had just said, well, I do make more money than him at this point, and I want a certain lifestyle. And that is not going to happen if I move to Charleston. Like, I think if she had said that, it would have been a lot more clear. I mean, you're still going to have like some Craig stans who are going to be like, there's no way you make more than Craig. He's the pillow, whatever. But to me, it's clear that Paige makes more money. I just, based on like her book and like her success with the podcast and like the tour, like I'm sure Craig has lots of money. He's fine. He's not going to be on the street begging anytime soon. He's fine. But I could see how, like, I do see that Paige probably brings in more just in terms of the height that her career is at right now. So, yeah. Okay, I always get sucked in with them. So they also released the Summer House reunion seating chart. Many are shocked that Amanda is first chair, and Amanda commented on Bravo TV's post and wrote, I too was shocked by this seating chart. Okay. I just wanted to tell you all that because I thought that was funny. And I like when the cast members like kind of get involved in that stuff and are like, yes, I also share in everyone's shockedness about this. Last story for the day is about Real Housewives of Miami because Alexis Nipola was seen on the beach with Todd, her ex-husband, a month after filing for divorce. And they were, touchy-feely and kissing and all the PDA. And people are very confused about this. Now, I wasn't totally surprised by this because there was another interview or news story that I covered here. I can't remember exactly when it was, maybe 2-3 weeks ago, where it must have been more than a month ago, I guess, where it was said like they are getting divorced, but they will continue dating. And I remember commenting on it and being like, this is a weird choice because this is something we do not normally see. So to see, sorry, I just hiccuped. So to see them that they're like legit doing this, like they're divorced, but they're just dating, it makes me think one of two things is happening. Like either, and I said this again on the other episode and I'll say it again now. It's like they either got divorced because there's some shady criminal something and he's protecting her and her kids, which is possible. Not that her kids are like kids because they're adults, but we know Frankie is dependent on her in many ways. And then the other thing is that maybe being married, like on paper, was, I don't know, maybe it was like adding some sort of pressure. Maybe it did something psychologically, and not being married is, helping them. It's possible. I mean, it's rare. But you do hear those stories where people get divorced and then they get back together and they get married again. It happens. I mean, it happened with Nene and Greg on Real Housewives of Atlanta. I would like to point that out, okay? But again, it was a much longer break in between. This is like a month later. And they had already announced pre-divorce that, yeah, we're going to keep dating. So there's something else going on. And I feel like I'm wondering if it's going to get brought up on the new season of Miami. God, I hope it does. I can't wait for that show to come back. All right. So I think that is it for the news for today, everyone. Let me just double check, make sure we don't have anything else. If you are looking for more content, head to patreon.com/Bravo and Botox. I have been covering Real Housewives of Atlanta, The Valley. I'm doing recaps of The Valley and Summer House every week. So, and if something else like exciting or big comes up, or there's a topic of discussion that everyone's talking about, I will talk about it in more depth on my weekly bonus episode. So yeah, check that out if you're interested. And I will see you next time for another Valley recap and another news episode. You are now in the know for everything Bravo. Bye. Thanks for listening, everyone. Your support really means everything to me, and this show wouldn't be possible without you, the listeners. So please, if you enjoy the podcast, leave a 5-star rating and subscribe so you don't miss an episode. For more, you can join my Patreon, patreon.com/Bravo and Botox. And for $5 a month, you'll get 4 extra podcast episodes a month. You'll also get early releases of Bravo Paper episodes and more. Please also subscribe to my YouTube channel at The Bravo Papers and follow me on Twitter, Instagram, at Bravo and Botox and at The Bravo Papers. If you'd like to buy me a coffee, you can at buymeacoffee.com/Bravo and Botox. Send your love through some much needed caffeine. And any guest that was on today's episode will be in the show notes, all their social media and contact information. So thank you so much, everyone. Keep overanalyzing Bravo.